What's going on, guys? Frank Rich from Massthetic and in today's video, we're going to talk about progressive overload and go over the steps and processes that you need to be applying with progressive overload as far as your programming and your training. Now, the first thing before we talk about the application of progressive overload is let's truly define what progressive overload is. In Webster's dictionary, or in a dictionary out there, progressive overload is defined as the gradual increase of stress placed upon the body or placed upon the muscles through exercise or through training. So simply, it's increasing the amount of stress that you're putting on your body. Now, what most people think about it, what they define progressive overload as simply increasing the weight or increasing the amount of load that they're working with. So if they're doing a bench press, maybe they're doing 200 pounds, they're going to progress or use progressive overload to increase to 210, maybe 220, 225. And while that is not 100% false, I want to explain to you why this may not be the most effective approach as far as using progressive overload first. So let's think about increasing weight or increasing load. We're going to use the dumbbell press as an example. So if I'm doing, let's say, 100-pound dumbbell press, and I have my hands locked in place, I've got perfect form, perfect execution, and I can complete 10 reps. If I got to increase weight, what my body's going to naturally want to do is make that new weight, so whether it's 110 pounds, 120-pound dumbbell, it's going to want to make it feel like it's 100 pounds. So without us even thinking, just unconsciously, our body is going to make that weight, want to make that weight feel lighter. So it may be as simple as us subconsciously or unconsciously sliding our hands in. Now what happens is if we take our hands from this point and simply shift them in a little bit, some of that tension, some of that load is now taken off of our chest. We increase the amount of weight that's in our hand, but we're not applying any additional stress or any additional load through our chest. So while we did increase weight, we did not progress our overload. So this is why we want to be careful and just simply focusing on upping the weight or increasing the load. Now, a better alternative would be to better execute that form or actually make that same weight feel more challenging. So instead of doing 10 reps with 100 pounds here, if we could actually slide our hands a little bit further away from our chest, now we've increased the distance from the weight to our chest, actually applying more stress, more load on the pec muscles. So this is where the first tier, the first level of progressive overload comes in. It's just better executing the movements. You're actually making the same weight feel a little bit more challenging. You can do it with other movements as well by slowing down your eccentrics and just focusing on better isolating those muscles. Same thing is you can also increase the range of motion that you're working in. So if you're always coming to this point with a dumbbell press, if you can further get it down, extending the length and the aspect of the chest, you're gonna add more stress, more load, more tension through those working muscles. So level one, tier one of progressive overload needs to be just better perfecting our form, better isolating those muscles and working them through a greater range of motion. Now, once we want to progress on, we can then think about doing things more often or increasing our training frequency. So let's think about if we're trying to learn a new skill set, if we want to learn and get better at doing something, the more often we can practice this skill, the more often we can do it, the better we're going to get at doing it. So let's say typically we train a muscle on Monday. Increasing our frequency, we can then train that muscle on Monday and then on Thursday. So instead of waiting 7 days before we hit that muscle again, we're going to only wait 3 days and then we're going to hit it again. So this is going to better train our body, better teach our body to work through those movements, and then we're going to be able to progress quicker through the actual perfection of that form. So we're going to start by just getting better at isolating our muscle, making sure that we're keeping tension on the working muscle, and even working through a greater range of motion. Then to better perfect that craft, better perfect that skill, we want to start doing things more frequently. So tier two, level two of progressive overload is going to be upping our training frequency. Now, once we've increased our frequency and we're training muscles more often than just once a week or twice a week, we can then look at increasing the total workout volume. So volume can be increased by doing more sets within a given, or more sets within a given workout, or more reps within a given set. So we want to choose one or the other, and we want to be very incremental in our approach. So if we're doing 3 sets of 10, for a particular exercise, we don't want to jump to doing 6 sets of 15. That's just too much of an increase. So we want to slowly add volume. So maybe we go from 3 sets of 10 to 4 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 12. And then throughout the weeks, throughout the months, we can continue to add that volume. So recapping, we've progressed because we've gotten better with our execution, gotten better with our form. Then we've upped our training frequency. Now we're going to add out workout volume. So we've gone through 3 levels of progressing the overload, but we haven't added any additional weight yet. So the 4th one is we're going to want to look at doing more work in a shortened period of time. Remember, all we're simply focusing on doing is increasing the amount of stress that we're placing on our muscles and placing on our bodies. So by upping the amount of work that we're doing in a short period of time, or what's known as training density, we can then accomplish that same task. So density can be increased or can be worked through doing supersets, doing trisets, also simply as much as just lowering your rest period. So if you're typically somebody that rests for 90 seconds to 2 minutes between your exercises, if you decrease that amount of time to maybe 60 seconds or even 45 seconds, this is where you're playing with your training density. So once again, all we're trying to do, we're trying to put more stress upon the body. So by limiting the amount of time that we have to recover, we're going to put more work, more stress placed upon those muscles. Also using practices, max output sets, such as drop sets, such as trisets, rest pause things, anything where you're not allowing your body to fully recover before you're putting work through it as well. So recapping, we haven't increased any weight at all yet. We've perfected our form, we've gotten better range of motion, we're better isolating our muscles, we're now increasing our training frequency. Then we've increased the amount of volume that we're doing, so how much work is being done within a given workout, and then we've done more work in a shortened period of time. Now the 5th and final tier of progressive overload is where we can think about actually adding weight. So we've gone through all the variables, we manipulated everything that we have in our toolbox. We're still using perfect form, but now we're going to think about actually increasing the load, increasing the weight. Now I want to clarify something. This approach, this method is if you are trying to build muscle. If your goal is hypertrophy training, this is the best approach that you're going to take. It's going to give all of these variables at your exposure to utilize. So if you only have one tool in your toolbox, a hammer, you're not going to be able to build a house. But if you have a hammer, a screwdriver, a drill, wrenches, you have more tools to work with. So this is the approach that we want to take. If you're out there and you're somebody that's training for strength only, you're probably not watching this video anymore, but if you are, yes, you need to focus solely on getting stronger, and I don't care how you do that. But if our goal is building muscle, and muscle comes down to how well can we isolate one particular muscle within a set and place tension on that muscle, we need to learn to learn how to first isolate and train that muscle through its fullest and complete contractile range. Then we want to manipulate those other variables. So recapping everything, guys, we want to make sure that we have perfected and trained our form through its greatest potential. Then we can increase our frequency. How often are we training that? This is going to allow us to get better at doing that form as well. Third, we can up our training volume, so how much work is being done within that given workout. Then we can talk about increasing training density, so how much work is being done within a given period of time. And then the 5th and final tier, we can finally talk about increasing the amount of weight that we're working with. So walk through these steps. If you guys are out there and you're looking for something that actually takes this intelligent approach to training, what I put together is I have a 12-week muscle building program called Massthetic Muscle. It takes an intelligent approach. It's programmed under the concepts of precision hypertrophy principles, which takes into account the body's relationship between the strength curve of your muscles and the relationship between the resistance profile of all the movements that we're doing. So I dedicated about 6 to 8 months to putting this program together. It's the only program out on the market that takes all of these concepts and applies them to a muscle building program. So there's 3 phases, 3 cycles of training. The first one is your neurological based training. So this is where you're actually learning how to go through these movements. You're teaching your body the right way to perform exercise, to perform movements. The second one is a hypertrophy base, where you're simply talking and focusing on building as much muscle as possible at the cellular level. So we want to make those muscle cells swell, and that's what hypertrophy is. And then the third phase is your metabolic based training. So this is where you're really starting to carve out, you're really starting to lean out and display some of that new muscle that you started to build. So if you're interested in finding more about this program, there's a link in the description box below, www.masstheticmuscle.com. Tell you all about the program and how you can join us and start building your greatest physique or your Massthetic physique. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. I really hope you found value in this video. If you did, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and leave us a comment below. Let us know something that you took away from this video. What was your biggest takeaway? What is something that maybe you're struggling with and you'd like to see featured in a new video? Also, if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications tab so you are notified every time a new video is dropped, because we are releasing videos every single week right now. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to hit the link in the description box. Check out masstheticmuscle.com. I'll talk to you soon.